Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is October the 9th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan court action. We are the sovereign living justices in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. My free chosen sovereign appellation is light to Jiri Bay. My sovereign born appellation is Pauline Denise Ritchie, and both are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous sovereign ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural divine, sovereign ancient empire state for Morocco, the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court, which is universal, Islam. Today we're executing the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous, natural divine, sovereign ancient Article 3 living United States District 4 Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, receivers, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, beneficiaries, and in this cause for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension and issue a state and federal creditors' bill for possession against all judgment debtors, and we exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time as are due to the Mother Nation. Now and forever, the Mother Nation reigns, Islam. So the first thing that I want to do is congratulate those who have participated in this 3-day fast that we are doing. This is day 2 of our 3-day national fast. And I just want to say that, we have gotten so much affirmation on what we're doing from so many different places, some that we can even point to today, and we're going to do that briefly. With regard to where we're going and what we're doing and all that that we've been doing. It's almost as if the whole universe, and I know this is truly the case, it's as if the whole universe is looking at what we're doing and saying, okay, let's affirm that on the public record. Let's affirm this on the public record. Let's affirm what they're doing on the public record. And for that, we're so grateful. But let me first say, I hope that you all had an opportunity to watch House of Reawakening Minds this past Friday, where our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey talked about replication, and he talked about some other things because we want to put a little bit of emphasis on that replication piece because that's what we're doing. We started showing that last week, where we're replicating the forms, and we want to put some more emphasis on that in the law so that we know the purpose of that. Okay. One of the things that was read at House of Reawakening Minds this past Friday was Chapter 1 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, as divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali. I'm just reading it straight from the book. And I want to call your attention to just one of the statements that was read, because it's so important that we know that the entire book, yes, Empress Betty, he shared some great information. This entire book and all that we are doing it talks about the matriarch and the sons, the matriarch and the sons, man and the matriarch. Chapter 1, there's one sentence in that chapter of the Holy Quran that tells us all we need to know about the rest of the book and about who we are. That one verse, that one sentence says, the child is as perfect as the mother is. That's a statement. That's a statement. That's not a question of if the mother is perfect. No, the mother is perfect. Therefore, the child is perfect. So let's keep that in mind as we continue to advance the empire in the manner that we're doing, because everything that we do, we cannot make mistakes when we're being ourselves. You know, oftentimes I get questions from Moors about, you know, should they do it this way or should they do it that way? And then I'll say, well, what did your spirit say to you about how you should do that? And without fail, they always have an answer. The spirit has already spoken, and we just have to know that our spirit is perfect. Whether you are matriarch or sons, the spirit is perfect. That's why the spirit is always our first authority on what we do and what we say and the things that we're doing. And then when we listen to the spirit first and we go ahead and demonstrate what the spirit has told us, the spirit will, the whole universe is just like the whole universe will come and say, yes, that's what you should be doing. The universe will affirm it through other people, through other events, through other things that you see in your study and the things that you come across in your study. So always, always, always know that the spirit knows best. Your spirit within you knows best. It cannot be wrong. Your spirit will never lead you wrong. And that's why we make suggestions, but you cannot tell a sovereign what to do. Why? Because the sovereigns listen to the spirit first. We know to do that. Islam. So with that being said, I want to bring some things forward and put a couple of things on the screen with regard to replication. Replication is what we're doing with the forms. You know, we've looked at the forms, you know, and the ancestors have said to us, and this is something they told us specifically, is not to use the forms that were done by others because it was generated someplace else. And that which starts in fraud stays in fraud, right? And so what we're doing now is saying, okay, let's move forth and create our own and generate our own. Everything that we do, we generate it ourselves. And for some, that may seem like a lot of work. Well, when we look back at what the foreigners did in order to even pretend to be the heirs, we notice that they recreated, remade, copied, hypothecated, subrogated the things that we did, right? Yes, that's what happened. That literally happened. And so what we're going to do is continue moving in that arena. Now, there are some Moors who feel led by their own spirit, so we don't question that. There are some Moors who are led to use the forms that are out there and just one moment, and put their affidavits with it. Which again, if the spirit told them to do that, then that's what they should do. You know. And so we're going to continue replicating, but there are more who have felt that way. And we say, if the Spirit leads you that way, then do what the Spirit has led you to do. Because I was speaking with one of our financial consuls, and and again, we're all financial consuls, by the way. So that's not some secret group somewhere. That's all of us. So whenever I'm speaking to we're speaking to each other, we're speaking to financial consuls. But and we give each other titles all the time because we are the ones who deserve the titles, right? So the financial counsel that I was speaking with was saying that he felt led to use their form, but put a fiduciary document with it, or and in his case, he was saying a power of attorney. And I'm like, well, we don't use powers of attorney, but that's what his spirit told him to do, and that's where he is in his study. And so I said, well, I'm going to take, I'm just going to look at what they put out there. For example, I saw a fiduciary document that was put out there. And again, I'm not saying use anyone's power of attorney. That's not what I'm saying. Please let me finish before that programming kicks in. I saw a fiduciary document from the FDIC, and I also saw one from the NCUA, which is the Credit Union Association, the National Credit Union Association. So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is reform, because that's what we're doing. We're replicating. So I said, I'm going to reform that document, and I'm going to send it, stating that I am the fiduciary for my bank account. Well, we've done our affidavits that, they had to go first. The affidavits had to go first. Well, when I sent that document, I saw a change in the account that said, where they were saying, okay, well, now that you're in charge, you actually have to do a membership form, but the membership form is going to state that you're the fiduciary. So what did they do? They said, okay, we're gonna make it so that when she signs on, she will see that she can sign on, but we're going to say you need a membership form. So they didn't like boot or do anything like that. All they did was say, can you please send us a new membership form? Because now you're the head of this account. So I know that what I did was correct. And of course, we reformed it. We put that we're the creditor on it and all of that. And it was just a one-page form. Okay. And so all we did was say, we're going to reform this. We're going to do it our way. And I made my form look exactly like theirs. I put and I say theirs. When I say theirs, I mean it really is ours. I put the logo at the top of the fiduciary form, and it looks just like the one that they did, except I put the right words in there. The right words. That means jurisdiction. Right word means jurisdiction. Juris means right, and diction means word. And so when I redid this form, the account did what it was supposed to do, which is they said, okay, the account is still here, but now that you've taken control of the account, give us a new membership form, and make sure that membership form, and this is just what I got from what I saw, because I know what I saw. And again, all it was is they said, when I signed on to see what had happened, they said it let me sign into the account, but then it said something different from what it's been saying. It said we need a membership form, and I knew then that, okay, that means it's under my authority now. And so that's another something that with Navy Federal, because that's the account that I sent it on, and I sent the fiduciary form that I created to both the FDIC, and I also sent it to the NCUA. Okay, and we know we're the originals, but we were sending notification to them that we have reformed that. And it worked. So now what we are doing is, because see, not only are we in control of the accounts, when we do things like this, and this is where we're going with all of this reformation and reconstruction and renaissance of everything that is ours, is we are now, as we continue to do this reformation part, it's automatically going to change it, because we're changing the language so that our money system is the system that the system responds to, because we're in control of that. Now, let me just show you in some of the language and some of the things that we have been doing, where us having control of the forms, okay, is so important. Let me, because I put some notes on the screen that I wanted to talk about, and again, these the forms that we're putting forth. Just one moment. Okay, there it is. These forms are perfecting our demonstrations where personam jurisdiction is concerned. Okay, personam jurisdiction is going to determine, as we can see, we've known this, that is the very first action in any court action, which all bank accounts, all banking is a court action. Okay, and so proper identification of the parties is always going to be the very first thing that determines the rest of what happens with that account, what happens with what type of currency is used, and all of that. It's also making it so that those who, for example, there are some Moors who have a certain amount of fiat. Well, they don't want to use that because it's being taxed so heavily. Well, this is going to make it so that the systems speak and their fiat can be done away with, and that same number of credits that they had can transfer into the new. Now, for those who don't have the fiat, because a lot of times that stuff was taken from a lot of Moors. For those that don't have it, never worry, because your autograph is still going to help you. Your autograph is still going to be the key. You're still the creditor. And you have a trust. Okay? And so that trust is all of us are in that one trust, or not in it. All of us command that one trust. All of us do. We're all the fiduciaries for that trust. So that way, and see, this is what our ancestors did so brilliantly. They made it so that nobody did without. Nobody did without. Everyone was prospering. Everyone. So make sure, with regard to the forms and things that we're doing, that that you practice personam jurisdiction. And what does that look like? Just going out demonstrating personam jurisdiction on a regular basis. We got our experience with personam jurisdiction straight from the policy, the ones that were previously doing business as policy enforcers. We got our experience there. We got our experience with personam jurisdiction doing POW demonstrations, and now not everyone has to do those, so please be comforted by the fact that you don't have to do that kind of demonstration. I'm just saying that's how we got our experience, by stating who we really are. And on our last call, I believe Empress Shasha talked about, she did it. She went out and just did a personam jurisdiction demonstration, period. Just in our day-to-day, that whole COVID mask thing. Go out and practice personam jurisdiction, because nobody should be able to make you do any of that stuff. And that's just for those who feel comfortable doing it. I will say that being ourselves does call us outside of our comfort zone. We have had to come all the way out of our comfort zone. And I don't even know if you can call that a comfort zone. It's not a comfort zone if somebody can just pull you over and take you to jail when they feel like it. That's not a comfort zone. So that language right there of us thinking that we were in a comfort zone has to even be updated. You know, it was an uncomfort zone. So let me just see. I see something in the chat here where the hybrid is giving us a heads up, because that's really all that is. We already got that part in terms of property taxes and things like that. We're exercising sovereign jurisdiction all day, every day, where all of that is concerned, all of it. And again, those are their records, but we've already shown where we can fix that. We showed that even where the POW demonstration that we did, when we proclaimed who we are, we showed the record last week online that where it just said, you know, Pauline, Denise Ritchie. We showed that last week. So if you want to see that, go look at last week's video. Now, with that being said, replication powers. Anything that you want to do, when you see the form, whether it be an IRS form, the 1099s and all of that, Form 56 and all that stuff, you must recreate the form yourself and put the right stuff in the form. You must recreate it yourself and put the right stuff in the form. If that's a demonstration that you want to do, do it, but you must recreate the form, because, again, that which starts in truth stays in truth. So when some were saying, well, you know, and we get the question, we honor the questions, we want the questions. When some say, well, what if they take the form that you did and do something else with it? They can't, because it started in truth. And they are sworn an oath not to bypass that. And the fact that we're all here says that they have to honor the oath that they took. Okay. You know, I can tell you that when we are lawful and competent and we're demonstrating, they will do exactly as commanded. Exactly as commanded. And we said that many times before, and many have affirmed that. Many more have affirmed that, oh, they did exactly what I told them to do. Yeah. So with regard to control of our documents and our liens and everything that has to do with us, the reason why replication is so important is, let's just take a look, a number of reasons. First of all, we know that the law of maxim, there's a law of, and all maxims of law is natural law stated by subjects. That's what maxims of law is. So things like the maxim of law that says an unrebutted affidavit stands as law, that's a maxim of law, but it is derived from natural law. And we know natural law is us. Natural law is the Moors. We are natural law. We don't follow natural law. We are natural law. So where replication of the documentation is concerned, and I shared this with some of the Moors this week, perfection by control. We perfect our processes, our liens, our court actions, our finances, and everything by keeping control of it. UCC 9, subsection 314, talks about perfection by control. That's why, we do things by affidavit first. Then we create the form and we reform what's being said. It says a security interest in investment property, deposit accounts, letter of credit rights And let me call your attention to the word rights here. Letter of credit rights. Or, and this is the one that really caught my attention, electronic chattel paper may be perfected by control of the collateral under section 9104, 9105, 9106, and 9107. Okay, electronic chattel paper. That's why we don't use their forms. That's why we don't do it. And for those who have used their forms, don't feel bad, because just make sure you put affidavits on the public record. Even if it's just your name change, appellation change, and judicial proclamation. Okay, just forward those. If you filled out forms and things like that, forward that, and that will give you some coverage. Okay. They do what they want with their forms because they were previously pretending to be a form of government. And when the Biblios Heliotech talks about, from the very beginning, the Biblios Heliotech explains how things continue by the way that it's formed initially. The earth was without form, and it was void. And they're not a real government, so how in the world can they make government forms? They can't even make government forms. So what did they do? They created something and put it on they made something, copied what we did, put it on the public record and said, heirs, you will know what to do with this. So what are we doing? Replicating. Let's look at that word too, the word replicate. Just one moment. I want to pull something up here. Can someone who has a dictionary nearby pull up the word ply, P-L-Y? Because the word, that is the root word of the word replicate, is the word ply, P-L-Y. So sometimes you hear on television, they will say something about 2-ply toilet tissue, or, 2-ply or plywood. Well, the word ply, if someone could pull that up and read that, here, let me, so that we can take a look at the word replicate and know why we're doing what we're doing. Islam. Yes. In the chat, can someone, whoever put that in the chat, please read it? And my chat is Islam.
And this is from Etymology Online, actually.
Islam.
First is a verb, ply, work with, practice with persistence, use or employ diligently, and that's from the late 14th century, shortened form of appliant, join to apply. See apply, but I won't put there. The core of this is Latin plicare, to lay, fold, twist, from Proto-Italic plecht, from Pi root plech to plak. The sense of travel regularly, go back and forth over the same course, is attested from 1803. We want the older versions, really, don't we? Perhaps yes. From earlier sense to steer a course, which is from the 1550s.
That's a navigation term, yes.
Right. Yes. Yes, it is. Related, plied, which actually looks like plies to me. And you know, in ballet, to plie is to bend at the knees.
Yes.
Plie, plying, ply, noun, a layer, a fold. There it is. 1530s, from French, pile, pli, a fold. 13th century. Alteration of Old French, ploie, fold, pli, layer. 12th century. Verbal noun from ployer, later player, to bend, to fold. From Latin plicare, to fold, lay. From Pi root plex, to plat. Often used to indicate the number of thicknesses of which anything is made. This also is the ply in plywood, yes. Ply, verb. Number 2 is to bend, yield. Late 14th century. Pliant, from Old French plier, earlier player, to fold, bend, from Latin, same thing. Plicare, to lay, fold, twist. And so I think we get it.
Yes, Islam. Beautiful. Because where it says to employ.
Isn't that something?
Think about that. Whew. That's powerful in and of itself.
To employ diligently too, yeah.
So when we replicate the documentation, we employ it properly under our employment. That means that we're the employer and they're not. Therefore, they cannot guide it someplace else, bend it, fold it, move it. No, then it's in the system the way it needs to be in the system. And that word fold is used many times there. Well, let's think about that. We always talk about us being back in the constitutional fold of government. Those words are not done, they're not stated by accident. No. We are over the constitutional fold of government. That word fold is a powerful word too, because it actually indicates that you're multiplying or bringing things together one way or another. When you fold a piece of paper, you then have two parts instead of one part. Instead of one piece of paper, you have two pieces because you folded it. Now you have two parts. And if you keep folding it, you have more parts.
Correct.
So replicating the documents, I mean, that fiduciary document worked so quickly. I just sent it out, and and that's
your
the first
demonstration failures are pretty powerful too, Pauline. What about First Avenue?
That's the first. Wait a minute, 1 second. Let me get that out of here. That is the first activity that I've seen on that account since I started demonstrating with that account. And it happened very quickly. Again, I can still sign in. You know, it says who it is at the top and all of that. But they're saying, okay, we need this. You did that correctly, and I felt that in my spirit 100%. You did that correctly. Let me see if I can pull up that document, by the way. That I formulated. And sent. So that way, here's one.
Tell them about the city council meeting, Pauline, and how that's going to be turned into how.
Just one moment. Not that one. NCUA. Okay, I did do a...
Hey, Rose, Spirit Bay. I hope you enjoy living.
Let's see. Empress Rose, Spirit Bay, that means you done stepped on some toes. Welcome to the club.
Yes, I noticed there comments under my, I did not miss that, under my consular court, and, like, you're right, the things are happening, and I'm not worried, and I'm not homeless. So,
welcome to the club of them, That's how you know you are kicking that rear end of colonial stuff.
I was like, oh, look I'm initiated in that.
That is exactly what that is. If they've ever cloned your, Appalachians Moors or called you out or something, welcome to the club. You are done. You did it. You've arrived.
Right? That's great.
Let's see. Where is that document? I'll find it in CU. I want to show you this document in case you decide to do the same demonstration because it worked very quickly. Let's see you. Okay. And it might just keep showing my oh yeah, it's showing the initial one that I did. So it may be in Google, in Gmail rather. Just one moment. And that was a demonstration that I hadn't really planned on doing, but after speaking with let's see. I do not see that document. Okay, so the one that I sent, I don't see it, but I will tell you where I reformed it from, though. Let me see. Just one moment. I want to show you where. It was a fiduciary document, though. Let's see. Okay. See, it's these types of things that we're going to be really heavily focused on, because this is where where the relief and the remedy to handle any of our business is in our study and putting our energy and our focus on our economic liberty. So let me see. Let me find that document. Okay, so this is the website that I went on to get the form. Let me pull up the forms, and then I recreated the form. Okay, so there are forms here somewhere.
Enjoy your cardboard box in Minnesota, Rose. Enjoy living.
And you know, the crazy thing is, they're the ones who came here with some cardboard boxes and already know where they're going if they keep that kind of mess up. When they came here with cardboard boxes. So, yeah. Yes, Empress Rose, this would be good. And, you know, every time we get close to that situation there.
Better speak up, Giggly.
Okay. Let's see. Where are the forms? If you'll notice on this website too, and I'll just point this out really quickly since it's on the screen, they have a central liquidity facility. Liquidation, we're in full liquidation form here with regard to everything that's going on, okay? And so with that liquidation going on, they're all putting on their websites what to do with regard to that. And then we have to take out the corruption in the liquidation process and put it in, you know, put it where it should be. Just one moment. Oh, and by the way, they all have lists of the banks that are in full liquidation, and again, all of them are. We just have to proclaim and then do these types of actions where we reform we take agency over, and that's the term that the more that I was speaking with, who's just so well versed, he uses the term agency. We say government. Okay, we govern the account. So let's see, information for members and creditors. This particular website is what all credit unions are signed on to, so to speak. Okay.
Islam, would that also pertain to banks as well?
Yeah, FDIC is for banks, so I did one for each. Okay. One, and I sent both of them in the same thing to the places that they needed to go to. In fact, maybe I'll just let me see. Maybe it's the FDIC one that I need to be looking for. Okay, here it is. So this is the one that I that I said I looked at it and I said this needs to be reconstructed. Okay, it was this one that's on the screen. And the minute I reconstructed it and sent it, immediately the system responded the way that it should. Okay, let's see, just one moment. So take a look at that. Now we know that we are that word attorney is not something that we use, especially not with any minus signs in there. But when we're reforming, you can use fiduciary. You can use, and I want to show you the form that I did to see what terminology I used. Just one moment. Let me see if I can show you that.
Islam, I have a question. Well, more like a statement. Well, because everything is considered a banking, because my consort, he tried to get his quote-unquote account from Amazon today, information, and they said that was private information. They couldn't disclose the information. And I was like, well, you just know what you do. Do your affidavits, send it to them, put them on notice, and then there you go. But would this also work for accounts such as that too?
Will it?
Sorry?
I'm asking you, will it work?
Well, my from looking at this and understanding things, overstanding, I would say yes.
Of course it will. When you reform the document, then look here on the screen, perfection by control. Look at that. When we control the documentation, okay, control of documentation, even when I was working in quote unquote corporate government, all documents were given a control number. All forms were given a control number. That's how we know we need to control everything. We need to reform it and then send it. That means that's our document, it's in our control. And the system will respond very quickly to that. Okay? Just one moment. Let me see if I can get the children out of the chat. Just one moment. Those hybrid children, I tell you, the kids. And my computer, here, let me make sure. Okay, let's get the kids out of here. I'm trying to see who it is.
Islam, I've been copied, I see.
Congratulations and welcome to the club.
Islam, right?
I know we don't have any clubs here, but once the kids start talking crazy and acting crazy, then it's like, okay, you made it. That means you stepped on some toes and got some things done. Not to say that anyone else hasn't. Here, there. Okay. So now, I reformed this document. And when I reformed this document, I got an immediate, let me see if this is the document. No, that's not it. And my document looked a lot like this one. I believe this is it right here. Yes, this is the one I reformed. This is mine that I sent. Just one moment. Okay, can you see this document on the screen? It says FDIC?
No, not as yet. No.
Okay, let me, because see, I already know.
Now I see it, yes. This
okay.
one.
Okay. See, this is the part where, of course they're going to want to distract people from looking at what we have on the screen here. This is why they do all of that stuff. Throw a bunch of BS in the chat, throw a bunch of stuff around, start talking crazy and directly pretending to because they can't speak directly to us. They're not even talking about us. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff they don't want us to see and go lean into this financial system. See, when we lean into the financial system like what we're doing, no one can say no. Because we're in complete control of our system. It's ours. I think I may have.
Oh, it was still there up until just now.
Okay.
There you go. It's there.
So this is the one that I did, and instead of it being power of attorney with dashes and stuff, I said power for attorney. And then I put in parentheses because, again, I made it say what I wanted it to say. And then this is what I put there. So you can go ahead and screenshot this. This is called reformation and replication. That's replication. And immediately they said, okay, this is good. Now I need to reform the membership application, because for us it's not an application, it's an affidavit. So I'm going to take their application, quote unquote, and take the word application off and put affidavit. And then whatever terminology I need to make adjustments on, I'm going to make adjustments on them, and it'll go back. On this form also, there is a $250,000, and I say dollar, not Federal Reserve debt note, insurance policy on every account that we have failed to claim. And so that deposit, because again, that was our credit. So think about this, Morris. Every time you opened any, and this is through our research and the research of the financial, the ones that I speak with financially, besides you all, because we speak financially here as well. What they were saying is that no matter where we signed, and no matter what the exchange was, it's insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. But that corporation had that resource had to be naturalized and nationalized. We say nationalize our resources because we're the source of those resources. And the way to nationalize the resource so that it works for you is to reform the document, reconstruct the document. And when when we were in the fake schools and all of that, the POW schools, they always talked about the Great Reconstruction and the Great Reformation. That's what they were doing. That's what they were doing. But they can't tell you that, oh, we just looked at all the stuff the Moors did and we just reformed all of it and put it on the public record. And because the Moors did not rebut it, until they rebutted it, it stood as whatever it stood for, because it's still not the law. Okay. So now this document, I sent this document to both the FDIC and the NCUA. And then the NCUA has one also. The National Credit Union Association, I made one for them also, because they have they insure, quote unquote, and really they don't even insure it. They just made themselves the middleman for the FDIC. So, Morris, when you, as we continue to, quote unquote, eat the proverbial elephant, you do that one bite at a time, but you eventually you get it, right? One bite at a time. And that's what we're doing here. But I saw immediate, but that again, this is because I put my proper status on the public record. Because now we're saying, okay, we're not minors. We're not minors. So for those who are at the other lands, and it's not even the other lands because that's still us, you can do these same documents at Jamaica territory, at the UK territory, because all of that stuff goes back to the same place. It all goes back to the same place. And there are people who came from here and went over to where you are, and those documents still applied. You must control your own destiny. You must control your own economics. You must control your own bank accounts. You must control your own income and compensation and outflow. How do you do that? Reformation and reconstruction. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. I mean, that thing worked so quickly that it was just unbelievable. I was like, wow, this is fast. So do one also, the same thing, but just put the NCUA logo at the top of it so that they know who's speaking, who's directing, who's controlling. It's the real NCUA and the real FDIC, which is the Moors. And I sent this to, I sent ones to the bank, quote unquote, the building. And I sent one to the FDIC and one to the NCUA, quote unquote. So three copies went out, or 3 originals. I just printed 3 out and autographed them, all 3 of them, in blue ink, in capitis diminutio minima, which is the first letter capitalized. Just a regular, what we would have called our quote unquote signature. But again, our affidavits preceded, because as you all know, we've been demonstrating with these subjects and these former custodians. We've been demonstrating with them from day one and showing you what the demonstrations look like, what happened, and all of that. And all we're doing now is continuing that. So with that being said, are there any questions about this demonstration, about why we're doing it this way? Again, we're talking control. Perfection by control. It doesn't even say that you have to have this, that, and a third of other things. It says that the security interest is perfected by those who control it. Electronic chattel paper, that's emails, that's forms of any kind. See, again, electronic chattel paper. I believe I did I looked that up. Here's electronic chattel paper. The meaning, the definition. This is from UCC 9-1, subsection 102, definitions and index of definitions. Electronic chattel paper means chattel paper evidenced by a record or records consisting of information stored in an electronic medium. And see, here's the thing. When you create it in your electronic medium, then you're the author of it. When you're the author and the finisher of your own faith, because those are financial terms, those who are familiar with the Biblios Heliotech, that it says, quote unquote, Yeshua, the author and the finisher of our faith. Well, we know faith is a financial term because they talk about full faith and credit in the law. And so when you author your forms, again, once your status has been put on the public record, proper status on the public record. Let's see. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom of any kind about replication of documents? Now, more as we replicate documents left and right all over the place, even more who have things like, this is something here. Let me just say this. When I think about the possibilities, and not the possibilities, but the truth of replication, if they sent a quote unquote ticket in the mail or something like that, or let's say that tax bill, well, when we replicate it and call it a fiduciary trustee receipt, that means that they paid it, right? Because we're not taxed, we're the heirs. Let me make sure I write down just one moment. And then with regard to anything else that's out there, Morris, all we have to do is keep doing what we've been doing. Keep doing what we've been doing and replicate, reform. I just think it's very appropriate. At the bottom of this document, let me point out Article 5 from the Constitution, because that was something that that my consul stated to put there. No personal or private information shall be taken for public use without just compensation. That just compensation, that statement is a paraphrase of the Fifth Amendment, the takings clause. Okay? And that thing worked so quickly that I was like, wow, that was fast. That was very quick. So anything else, tickets, any of that other stuff, once we have stated that we are the head of that and the head of everything, then, we can do the same thing. This document can be used everywhere with any letterheads on top, any logos and emblems on top. You can put any of that on top and send it. Islam Empress.
Question. Mm-hmm. I can hear my echo. You answered one of the questions I had, because I was going to ask, with the bank, because you said you sent to the bank building, so did you put the logo of the bank building on the So the same, so you sent 3 documents, or 3?
I sent 3 FDIC and NCUA documents. So the 3 that I sent was a copy of this one that you see.
Okay, 3 times, to the FDIC, to NCUA, and to the bank building.
Yes, because they all, that's the foundational quote-unquote organization that is covering the accounts in terms of recourse, remedy.
Okay. So when you say now it can be sent to any of these buildings who are sending bills or for instance,
I know what you're asking. I think I know what you're asking.
Okay.
So I would go onto their website first and see if they have a power of attorney on there.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm.
No matter who it is, because they all do. It's just that the citizens knew to send it. We didn't know to send it. The citizens knew. So they all have one on their website, and all you have to do is go on their website and pull it, and then reform and reconstruct it, and then send it. And that puts you at the head and not the tail. In the chat, Empress Rosetta asked about medical fiduciary. Absolutely, you should be the medical fiduciary, especially with regard to your records, so that they can't just throw any old status in there, and so that they can't just, when they look in your records, they will know that it's you who's in charge of those records. Therefore, you're in charge of your you have jurisdiction over your body medically. And when you put a do not vaccinate in your medical records, and you're the fiduciary with power for attorney, then there will be no vaccination there.
Could you also, I have another question. The account access number. Can you break that down for me?
So,
I heard it somewhere in one of your videos, but I need a little.
Yes, that was just the bank account number. That's what they call it, an access number.
Oh, and that's actually the bank account number, your bank account number.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I thought because it had all those nines across the, at the front.
Yeah.
I assumed, one should never assume,
that it was made up or something.
Seriously, because I'm like, could that really be your account number?
That is actually my, and I was shocked too when I woke up and realized that, oh wow, look.
I mean, hello, look, you got 4 9, and then you have 9 on the end, and then of course you have the 1 in there, but it's like numerology at play. Okay, thank you so much.
Our ancestors they just know what they're doing, and they knew I was going to put it all on the public record at some point anyway, because I wasn't going to hide anything. It's on there.
Right. I tell you, Ashe, thank you. I yield.
I mean, when I realized that, I was like, you ancestors.
Nah, that just couldn't be, but there it is. Yeah.
And excuse the direction of the sunlight. I love the sunlight, so when it starts moving across the sky during this time, it just so happens to come into this room this way.
It puts a halo over you. I mean, it's just like the gods. I mean,
Islam. I love it. It feels great.
It looks like, honestly, so life. Yeah.
Islam. So, yes, medical fiduciary, and I would encourage you to now, and again, Morris, what we're doing is governing our own affairs here. That's what this is we're governing our own affairs. And so go on to the websites of any and all of these banks and other places. Find out who the underwriter is, and listen, the underwriting is not going to be that many different entities. It's going to be the FDIC for all banks. It's going to be the NCUA for all credit unions. It's going to be, where medical fiduciary is concerned and medical records, is going to be the healthcare, the one that was pretending to be the healthcare provider, whether it be the state or whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whomever. You're the fiduciary there. Go to their website, look to see if you can find a fiduciary document. If you can't find one, take their logo, put it at the top of this same document, and put the information there, and reconstruct and reform that thing so that you can take control of everything that has to do with you.
Islam. So if we don't get access to our account number, we can just put our sovereign social security number there, because they always took that information to create the account anyway, right?
You can. You can say all accounts that have to do with that number and that natural person name. And that's actually a great idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I should have thought of that.
Islam.
Thank you, Empress. That's why we're here, so we can help each other. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to do that. Islam.
I have a credit union and a bank. Should I make separate ones or put them both on the form?
I did separate. I did again one for NCUA and I did one for FDIC, and I sent both of them to eat all three of the places.
Okay, Islam. I noticed I can't find the one for the NCUA, so can I pattern after this one?
And take their logo and put it right at the top and send it.
Okay. Do you know the form number for the NCUA one?
Let's see if we can look it up. I'll try, because this is just how I do my research. I just NCUA.
I tried finding it while we're on this call and I couldn't.
Okay, let me see if it will come up here. Because sometimes it depends on the browser. Sometimes it depends on let's see. NCUA, here it is. Consented overlap and irrevocable power of attorney. This is an example of one that they put on their website. So maybe you can, let's see.
I'll copy and paste it into a document.
It is NCUA
policy. I saw that. I was looking for a form. But,
overlap. Chartering manual. The two credit unions in question have not asked their office to approve the intentional overlap. Just one moment. Let me see if I can. Two will have sufficient remedies if FCU1 breaches the agreement. Chartering manual. Our concern is with the local power of attorney. Cool.
That's the SSIC number they have there.
Yeah, I was about to say they reference the FCU, Federal Credit Union bylaws. So there may be one there.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. It's 117 pages. I'll just go ahead and download that.
Okay, let me see. And I would actually like to see that, the FCU bylaws. Review. Bylaws. Let's see if we can get those. Okay, here. And most likely it's even going to say something about powers of attorney and things like that. And again, we're reforming all of this and making sure that our affidavits are sent with them. And that way we will, we're in control of all documentation and everything. Let me see, did it come up? Bylaw. Boy, they do not want to put that thing here. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to. see if we have any. Here it is. Or here's something. Yeah, this is it right here. The 2020 Federal Credit Union Bylaws. I'll put this in the chat.
Yes, Mom. Thank you.
And then we can and it's going to talk about probably, I'm sure it's going to talk about powers of attorney. So we just reform it, reconstruct it, and then put it forth. If they don't, and again, if they don't have it, if they don't have one, then just, again, I would just use the one that we have.
Okay, that's different from the first one I saw. But I looked through it.
The word power is mentioned in here 20 times. So let me just go through and see. The power to approve or disapprove loans, etc. Vice chair. Board powers. Credit committee powers. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. This is actually talking about how to govern the credit union and what the credit unions have the quote-unquote power to do, which we need to know that too, because we are, especially by us being the fiduciaries and having the powers for attorney. Did you all know that we do have the power to do things like remove employees and delegate authority and all of that stuff with regard to banking, especially because, again, we're the CEOs and all of that. We just have to, again, take the time that we're taking to learn this stuff. You know, we have to learn it. Not learn, remember. Because we knew how to do it. We just need to know how to continue, continue remembering how to govern. Because then we can give competent commands. And that's the thing about all of this is, we've, some Moors have gotten frustrated because they gave some commands and the commands they felt were not followed. Well, were the commands competent? Did you do the study on how to make those commands come forth? Did you do the study on that? Because it can be frustrating. I know it can. It can be frustrating to give commands and have them looking like, what did you say? Or do something different. We taught them everything they know, and now it's time for us to go ahead and demonstrate, what we taught them. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments with regard to this particular piece and control and replication? That is now my favorite word. When you think about two-ply tissue, even it's one ply over another, and that's all that the foreigners did. The subjects did is they put paper on top of. And because no other paper rebutted that, it was like, okay, well, that's what's going to happen until the Moors wake up and replicate. the processes. And that's even where mortgages and things. So you could pull out every contract that you previously signed in your sleep, and you can replicate that contract, call it what it should be, state that you're the creditor on that, because then you're not contracting with them as if they're the head of something. Then they're in subject status. Same thing, Morris, for any document such as loan documents and things like that. You're the fiduciary of the money in the first place because it's your credit. So replicate the documents. Islam.
I know that we are the creditors, but I'm kind of short on finding that in the law. Is how do we find it in the law?
That you're the creditor?
Yes.
The form that we put here on the screen, this is the form that says you're the creditor.
Okay.
It's that simple. It's nothing complicated about you stating that you're the creditor.
Okay.
And here's the thing. When they don't rebut that, because they're not going to rebut it, when they don't rebut it but they do what you say, you will know that, yes, that's the law.
Okay. All right.
Let me ask all Moors, even to that question, because that's a great question. How do you prove that? There's a million ways to prove it. First of all, you can look at House Resolution 331, 100th Congress, second session, where it says that we are the ones who wrote the Constitution and gave it to George Washington, and they called themselves the framers because they just put it in a frame. That's all. And they gave their own meaning to it when it came to the subjects, and that's where things got messed up with them, not us, with them. And so you can look at the Constitution, and the Constitution will state, based on our status and based on their status, and particularly, let me go back even further to the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence states that we're God and that mankind only offers their opinion. That automatically puts us in the creditor position.
All right.
So, again, the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, that's another one that puts us in the creditor position.
Okay.
And here's the thing. Only nations can do treaties. That's how come they're the subjects, you can't even speak treaty law to them. Because they're not bound by any treaty because they're under our authority. We're the treaty nations. That's another indicator of creditor status. Okay. And then also in the Uniform Commercial Codes, Empress, it talks about who's the creditor and who's the debtor. And Islam.
Would they be then with the letter of credit?
Yes.
When you look up letter of credit in the law dictionary?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And in here, in this one that we put on the screen, in this Universal Commercial Code that we put on the screen, just one moment, let me make sure it's up there. It talked about letter of credit rights. Well, who has rights and who has privileges? We have the rights.
Okay.
Everyone else has privileges that can be revoked at any time by those who are the creditors.
Okay, got you.
Mm-hmm. Can anyone else offer her information on, because I see the Empress put the Treaty for Peace and Friendship? Absolutely, that is a creditor document. You state that you're the creditor by what you do and what you say and what you write and what you put out there. That's how creditors are determined.
Okay. So would that have anything directly to do with that authenticating birth certificate?
It absolutely does. We're the only ones who have the creditor is the only one that can authenticate that. If a debtor, someone doing business as Secretary of State, if they authenticate anything, they're authenticating it in a debtor status because they're debtors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you actually have to authenticate your own and then notify them that yours has been authenticated. And by yours, I mean the reformed one. So, Empress, what I'm going to do in terms of that is I'm going to recreate or reform the birth certificate that they were previously claiming. And it's going to look a lot like that one. And I can even take the seal that's on there and put it on mine, but then put my own seal on it also to authenticate it, because that's the only way it can be authenticated. Why would we authenticate something signed by a debtor? Even our mother did not know at the time that she was doing things and putting things in debtor status. But it's because she didn't create it. She didn't create the paper. So when you reform that birth certificate, then it's no longer a debtor instrument because it's created by mother, the creditor, or sons, the creditors.
Okay, well, I do have a more birth certificate that was done.
And what I'm saying is we have our birth affidavits that we've done on the long form. That's what they call the long form. The long form is our birth affidavit. And then you create another. You can do it on legal paper. When you reform the birth certificate. See, our Grand Sheik has talked about how they had plans on redoing birth certificates again. If nobody had spoken up and woke up, they were planning on redoing all the birth certificates and reclaiming chattel property and all of that. No, and what we're saying is that might have been what they were planning on doing, because he's right about that. That's what they were planning on doing, but that's when we do it, they can't do it. So we take the birth certificate that my mother was given. I'm going to take that and reform it, put everything on there, and my mother will not be listed as an informant on the one I reform. See, think about the word informant. Weren't our mothers listed as informants on those fake birth certificates?
Yes.
They're pointing to who formed it. They're saying we can call her that because we got her consent to do it. She didn't know that she was to first create a sovereign affidavit and then reform this document.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, when I sent this FDIC form, and the NCUA form, and it came up just a little while ago on the screen, I sent an affidavit with it properly identifying myself. Let me show you that affidavit. Just one moment. Let me show you that affidavit.
Well, I'm going to have to see it when I get on the laptop anyway. I'm on the phone right now.
Okay. Oh. Here's the NCUA here's the one. I found it, and it's in that same form. Now, on the National Credit Union Administration website, Morris, let me just show you that really quickly. They don't have a power of attorney form, even though I still sent a power of attorney. What they have is a claim form. So what I did, and the claim form should be on the screen. Let me see.
Islam, it was there.
It was there. Just one moment. Let me see if I can get it back up here. Okay, here it is. This is the one that I did for NCUA, a claim, proof, and acceptance receipt. This is the one I did for them. And it's saying the same thing. It says the same thing as the other one, except it was a claim on the 250,000 United States dollars, which is not Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve debt notes. It's credit, especially based on my original, my documentation. Because, again, my affidavits went with that.
Okay, now, what would you do if you had, say you had a family member that had passed away and you didn't know about the $250,000 that we should be getting from insurance? How would we, where would we go to claim that?
What you would do is you would, if they passed away, and then you would need a power. You would need to do a power for attorney, giving you authority from them, not from anyone else, because you're the ultimate authority, giving you authority to make changes to the accounts and things like that. Okay. And then, Empress, any other documentation related to them, such as a death certificate or anything like that to prove, you want to reform it. Form the death certificate because it was created in error. It was created in fraud.
Okay.
Now, Moors, in general, just this is to all Moors, when you're dealing with things where Moors have passed away, and whether they knew they were Moors or not, you want to recreate death certificates, recreate birth certificates, and even if there was, let's say, an insurance claim or an insurance amount, and there was a denial on the insurance, you want to reform all of that and notify them that this is the true status of the one who transitioned, and this is our real status, and you're being notified now that as fiduciaries for the accounts and for them, all benefits are due. And if they say, well, we have this form you have to fill out, tell them to send it. Send the form. And when they send the form, you don't fill that form out, you reform it.
Okay.
It might seem like a lot of work, but once it's done, Morris, we don't have to keep going back to that same issue. We can move on to other things. Islam, Empress.
I was well, you know, my grandchildren's mother passed away, and I was always told when they are alive, you can become power of attorney, but once they pass on, then you would have to become the executive of their estate, because that's what the courts have me with their mother's things and things for her children and money and everything. I am of her estate.
Mm-hmm. Those are all fiduciary titles.
Right. It is all fiduciary. They did say I am the fiduciary, I am the administrative, I am the executive.
Yes. So you can choose those. You can use that terminology if you want to use that terminology. I always include fiduciary because fiduciary is like a cover all. It don't even matter what the title is. They're fiduciary.
Okay.
You know, so then you would do one and you would put executor, estate executor.
Okay.
And just reform everything that's done. Reform it.
Okay.
And then notify them that it's been reformed. Empress Shasha, thank you, Empress. Empress Shasha put something in the chat. Interestingly, the British birth certificate is written in red, but the details, name, etc., are completed in black ink. That's a hint. That's a hint right there. That's a hint of how our reformed birth certificate should look.
Islam?
That's a hint. Yes, Islam Empress.
I received a couple of letters from Chase from two different departments. One had my name, my naturalized name written, first name first and then last name, and then the second one from a different department had my surname, my naturalized surname first and given name second.
Mm-hmm. Whenever they put the last name first and the first name last, then that's actually they're employing you in the military. That's a military situation right there. And so you want to reform everything because you're not in them. You're not employed by them.
Right.
They are employed by you. And so that's why we were saying, you know, when you do a mailing label to any of the subjects, you put their last name first and first name last, comma, first name last, because they're employed by you, not the other way around.
Okay. Islam.
It matters. All of that matters. And see, that's why we don't, like, whenever they send paper, we correct the paper. We reform and correct it so that they know that, no, we don't work for you. You work for us. And that last name first and first name last piece is them trying to say that somebody is employed in their military. That's military language. And there are standing army. And that's another something that we have always had, a standing army ready to do the bidding of the Moors. And whenever we address those labels properly and put their last name first, first name last, that's our army doing our bidding. They work for us. We don't work for them.
Islam. So I'm sitting over here meditating on the death benefit process and how I remember hearing of companies and corporations, trying to get people to sign up with them for death benefit insurance. So I'm like, one of the stipulations I'm remembering about one of them was you had to have a bank account. So it seems to me that how they would do it is you can get up to $250,000. Isn't that the same number as what a bank account was insured for? Yep. So all they were doing was giving you back your money, provided you had a bank account, because that's where the money was coming from. And then you had to be qualified, and so that would be probably predicated on whether or not the bank that you were associated with wanted to participate in that transaction. That's just what I'm thinking.
When you say you had to be qualified, what do you mean? Qualified for what?
Well, the seniors, they would want death insurance, right? Yeah. I'm just going off one of the commercials I've seen over time, and how they would say you can be pre-qualified, but you had to have a bank account. for up to $250,000 for death benefits. So you wouldn't have to leave your family in quote unquote debt. And so, like I said, that they would qualify you based upon your account, who you were banking with, and if that institution you were banking with decided to participate or not, that's how you would get qualified.
So what they're doing is asking you to make them a third party interloper on your benefit.
Yep.
Empress Rosetta put in the chat, the FDIC insurance money was meant for us to have available funds to cover transactions. Absolutely, yes, it's a benefit. It's supposed to be available now, not when you transition. It's not a death benefit. It's insurance. But again, they've been doing all of that and taking all of that. Why? Because there were a bunch of minors who didn't know that they were the fiduciaries and they have the power for attorney and that they're the creditors. And all we're doing right now, we're not even mad at them for that. All we're doing right now is saying, we know now. Here you go, we know. We know that we're the fiduciaries for everything. Even the quote-unquote Board of Governors of the quote-unquote Federal Reserve, they are fiduciaries first, and then they are governors, quote-unquote. And I'm saying that you all know what I mean in terms of even us. But even in the Code for Federal Regulation, it says that the Board of Governors and the Secretary of State and Secretary of Treasury and all of them, they're fiduciary. We're fiduciaries first. And then those titles come into play. But you actually we would take our affirmation for that office as fiduciaries. Because those offices those offices have duties to the public. And as fiduciaries, we do too. We have duties to our all caps and the all caps of our heirs and the all caps of those who don't know their mores. We're actually doing protective things for them too. So it's all about everybody. It's all about everybody. And when we do things like this and put it on the public record, it's not just for us, it's for everybody. Fiduciary duties extend to all positions and all offices, and so do powers for attorney. And some might even, kind of freak out on the term attorney. We had that term first. We spelled it a little differently. So when we write our affidavits, we spell the way we want to spell on our affidavits, by the way. I saw something, let me just show you what I saw. I saw something recently done by the European Union, I believe it was, the quote-unquote European Union. Where they were saying that things had to be done, that financial documents had to be done in English and then in the national language.
Islam, we did ours in reverse.
Yes.
Properly.
Because nation comes first. Nation comes first. That's why we things had to be done that way. Here it is right here. It's regarding common equity instruments. Here, let me just put this on the screen. They don't need to see what's in my files. Not that I care. Let's see. Here, let me put this on the screen because this is important to know, that we know that it's always been about things that we didn't think it was about. Here it is right here on the screen. This is the European Banking Authority. And this is something that was published recently where they were talking about capital instruments. Now, why is this important for us, even though it's coming from the quote-unquote European Banking Authority? It's important to us because when we thought that we were citizens, they were using us as capital. And we didn't know that. We were wondering where they getting all of this quote-unquote money from. And it was just fiat. But they were using us as capital. Every time our autograph came up, they were purportedly enacting using us as capital. Let me make sure that I state that properly. They're just actors. They couldn't do it for real because they don't have the authority to do it for real. But here it says, this is talking about capital instruments and them trying to make more quote-unquote resources. Okay. And it says here, in particular, let's see. In this new update, one new type of CET1 instrument, that's capital or common equity tier 1. Now, let me just give a little background information on a common equity tier 1 asset. A common equity tier 1 asset is the highest asset in their banking setup. And it's really the highest from their perspective, but there is one higher, which is us. But where common equity tier 1 assets are concerned, because they were looking for more ways to do things. It says here, they just recently updated what is a common equity tier 1 asset. In other words, what can their banks put on the books to say that their bank is solvent? Okay. What can their banks what papers and documentation can their banks put on the books to say they're solvent? A common equity tier 1 asset, they just recently updated what that is. It says in this new update, one new type of common equity tier 1 instrument has been assessed and evaluated as compliant with the CRR. No further changes have been applied in the list. For ease of reference, a new row has been added and highlighted to flag this new instrument. In particular, the following information is provided in the list: country of issuance, name of the instrument in English and in the national language. So when you're talking, anytime you're talking international banking, you have to do what we just said. Send your affidavits, and affidavits can be in ancient English, or if you want to put it in common English, you can. But generally our affidavits, we do them in ancient English. Then we replicate the form, and the form is what goes in English because English is a commercial language. That's why the whole world had to know English, because it's a commercial language. That's what English was all about. That dialect, that particular dialect of English. that we were taught is a commercial language. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments regarding control of our destiny? Because that's really what we're talking about today. Control of our destiny.
Islam. Well, it's more of a statement. I was listening to someone last night, and that person that recommended that you fill out applications for all the services you receive: electrical, gas, mortgage, etc. And basically recreate it. And then the person stated to send it to the Treasury.
So then you know what to do: reform, recreate. Right. And send that straight to the right, because they got the right idea.
Right.
Now with us, notice to, and this is the beauty of our affidavits. On our affidavits, we say notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. That's going to get the Treasury, even with these documents right here. That's how come they had to do what we told them. But you can. But I would encourage you, send everything you reform, send it to the Treasury as another form of notification. You can add that to your list.
That's fine.
I'm going to go ahead, now that you brought that up, I'm going to go ahead and send these two documents plus my affidavit, my FDIC affidavit, NCUA affidavit to the Treasury as well.
Islam. So we're so this is the supposed money that's in the Title IV program that was created during the bankruptcy.
Are you asking or stating that?
I'm asking. So that's what I got from my study. Because when I was studying the bankruptcy last night.
Which Title IV?
Title IV from the Emergency Banking Act. It has. I was reading the Senate. When the senators, de facto senators, were speaking on record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're talking about James Traficant when he was speaking on record about it?
No, this is back in 1933. Stegall and McFadden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, the funds for the emergency banking law, and we call it a law because we made it a law back then. The funds actually supersede that in terms of they go all the way back to the Constitution. All debts and obligations entered into before this Constitution are as valid as they were then. The money itself, in terms of line items, because that's what the titles are, it would be, the funds come from the Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, where appropriations comes in at. It talks about that Article 1 of the Constitution states that the only time that the Treasury can be accessed is by appropriations in the law. And so in 1933, you have to call it the law, though. You can't call it an act. It has to be the law because the Constitution says the law. And then those funds do come from Title IV, for us, it would be Title VI, Title IV, and Title VI. For us, but for us, it's going to be a little bit different. What we do, and that's why we have to reform everything, because the funds for everything that our ancestors put in place for us, it's going to come from several different appropriation line items. Title IV is one of them, from the Emergency Banking Act, as well as the bankruptcy law of 1933. So to answer your question, the answer is yes. I'm just mapping where everything is coming from And there's a whole other series of things that we could do to prove that or to point to with that, but that's definitely one of them. The bankruptcy law of 1933, which is what we, which is what we stated in our fiduciary documents when we're taking the positions and things like that. Now, I'm glad you asked that question, Empress, because the documents where we remove them from office and all of that, these fiduciary documents are actually further specifically making that manifest. We had to state it on the public record and show that they were dead first. And then we had to say, okay, now the system will recognize our fiduciary status as well.
Islam, Empress, I don't know if you noticed, I sent you, I was an article about, quote unquote, the Queen's death certificate was put on the public record for the viewing and the scrutiny of that after she had, transitioned.
I'm gonna have to look at it because I didn't see it, but I would be curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah. Because that went, as far as I was concerned, that was because we put her resignation on the public record, we put the United States death certificate on the public record, we did so many things on the public record, they had to follow suit as to what we have been doing and instructing them to do, right? Because in times past, I don't remember seeing or even hearing about any other quote-unquote royal of anybody's death certificate being put on the public record.
Nope.
Not at once. Right? And they've terminated and expired since, like, what was her name? The one who died in the tragic car accident. She didn't have hers on there. It was on the public record.
It was the one that was doing business as Philip, who was supposed to be her husband. They didn't do that. They didn't put his on the public record either. But, if we command that it be put on the public record, it will be.
Yeah.
And then hers, again, we have put on the public record that the matriarchal energy is here. Not saying that it's not anywhere else, because there is nowhere else. Every place is Earth. The matriarchal energy is here, as in with the heirs. And so, a reformation of her death certificate is probably in order. And that's going to open some other gift boxes in terms of the Crown Corporation. Because when, as fiduciaries, see, no one else can be the quote unquote queen over there. That's why they calling that other one a queen consort. She was specifically told you can't give yourself that title, because that title belongs to the heirs. Because the heirs are awake. And queen consort is not even a title for her. So they know, needless to say, they know that we're awake. It's not a secret to anyone. And you can look at the dynamics of what they're doing. And when you know the dynamics of what they're doing, you will know that they already know we're here and we're awake, and all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing and keep looking at these financial processes and reforming. And here's the thing, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The stuff is already out there. All we got to do is reform it, replicate it. Use our replication powers, Morris, because that's what our Grand Sheik was talking about on Friday, was replication powers. And he didn't specifically mention what we're doing in terms of the forms. I'm just saying that myself because that's what I got from that. Because I know we have to do it. That means, because see, all they did, again, I'll say it again, all they did was paper over private commercial paper. And all we're doing is undoing that and putting the proper documentation. Now, over the next few weeks and months. We're going to be manifesting some things where that's concerned. And so I would ask, please, that we continue to clear energies, because we have to put some things on the public record that some are going to completely, if they don't study, they'll misunderstand it. They will misunderstand it if they don't know that we are the fiduciaries for this bankrupt thing, and that we're already doing what we need to do with regard to that. You know, there's some things that the ancestors are bringing into our vision and our line of sight that we have to do. And it's all good stuff. It's all to continue to access the estate. That's all it is. Replication. When I looked at that word, I looked it up in other places too, like Black's Law Dictionary, and it said to fold over on itself. To fold over on itself. Kind of like what they say about, time-space continuum, where if you want the ancient times to meet with these times, then you have to fold space and time so that those two come together instantly. That's what's happening right now. So when they talk about folding things over and replicating, we're literally folding time and space together and bringing together the most ancient and the now and the future. That's what replication is. So in the Biblios-Heliotech and in the ancient records, it says that when we wake up and we start demonstrating who we are, it's going to be like this 400 years or 500 years or whatever time period you feel to ascribe to the hypothecation and subrogation piece. It's going to be like it never happened. That's what the records say. And that we're not even going to remember the pain and the trauma. But we got to acknowledge that it existed and then cast the spell to get rid of it.
Islam, because I had one of my young empresses look up the word genocide today because she was using the word racist, and I was like, that doesn't even exist. I said, look up the word genocide. And then I remember from my earlier learnings of what we had been submitted to was paper genocide, right? Because it was on paper that we were genocide because we've always been here. We never went anywhere, right? So it was on paper that we was genocide. So what we're doing in the reforming of these documents, we are undoing the paper genocide.
Yes. See, it was an act. They paper genocided in an act. Because, again, like you said, we're still here. We haven't gone anywhere. We've been here. We're going to be here. When you think about all the stuff that was supposedly done, and they said, oh, those people, the ancient Mayans were wiped out, and the ancient this was wiped out and wiped out and wiped out. No, we're here. They know that. Been here since before 5,783 years ago when we created them. Been here, and no vaccine could ever take us out of here. Let's just put that on the point. No bad food could take us out of here. It may take temporarily, so we do have to be wise about that stuff and not let them play jurisdiction over our bodies. But as a people, we're not going anywhere. We've been here, gonna be here long after our creation has gone back to where they came from. Because there is a place that they're going to go. 5,783 years ago. And again, the ancient records say at 6,000 years, that creation will pass away. They know that. That's not, we don't have to kill anybody, hurt anybody, maim anybody, be mad at anybody. We do right now, though, have to ensure that fiduciary duties over them is done. And that's the part that we're going to be doing over the next few days and weeks and months. Yeah, so I thought I was going to have to take a couple of weeks off in order to get focused solely on the documentation to put forth, to take full, and we already have it, we just need to do the documents, take full fiduciary responsibility there where the subjects are concerned. I thought I was going to have to take maybe 2 weeks to a month off, like I did when I took 2 weeks off when I did to do all those red documents back last year. And I thought I may have to take maybe 2 weeks or a month off to focus on that part, because that part is something to think about. It's something special. So I may take probably 2 weeks or maybe 30 days even away from the calls to do that. But I won't do that without your approval. And I know we don't get approval from one another for things. I know we don't, because we're sovereign, but we have a commitment to you. We feel we have a commitment to each other, really. And I haven't said anything about that because there's still a part of me that says I don't need 30 days off. I don't even, maybe 2 weeks, but not 30 days. There's still a part of me that doesn't want to take any time off. So I'm going to think about that. And then over the next few days and weeks, if you all could let me know how you feel about when would be a good time for me to take maybe 2 weeks to 30 days off. But I'm going to try and get it done. I'm going to try and get it done in between time period. It's just a lot of my study is devoted to these calls, I think I can, let me see. Just one moment. Yeah, I think I can get the documents done without taking any time off. It's just when I see things in my study, I'm always putting it aside, So at some point, and even now, there's some things being put in the chat by the foreigners, by the subjects. They're really subjects, and we love them. We love them. They put things in the chat, and I want to get on those things and just talk about them so bad sometimes, but it will take me off subject. It says there, Pauline says she bankrupted all the grocery stores if they were talking about me because they can't talk about me. But if they were, they're stocking the shelves because they're now nationalized and naturalized and under our authority. That's why. So with that being said, are there any other questions, comments, wisdom of any kind with regard to wisdom, or something you want to share with us in terms of something you saw in your study that can assist us in doing all that we're doing? Anything at all?
Islam. I just wanted to share something. My consort sent me the Commissioner of Deeds, City Clerk. It says the background is red and the writing is in white. It says the Office of the City Clerk, NYC Marriage Bureau, is open for in-person appointments only. No walk-in visits are permitted. Please do not visit any office of the clerk unless you have a scheduled appointment and have received a confirmation email. You can also schedule an in-person appointment for a marriage ceremony, marriage license, and any select services through Project Cupid. The option to schedule a virtual appointment for a marriage license also remains available. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, we talked about marriage versus matrimony not too long ago on one of these calls. And so,
you know, for them to say something about just one moment. For them to say something about a Cupid project, that takes all the seriousness and the nobility and everything out of any ceremonies. When you say, "Oh, the going to be doing this and that," that to me sounds like a joke, and that's why we don't ever put our processes and our whatever, you know, what we're doing. We don't put that in the hands of those who are, where competence is concerned, doing citizen stuff, because that is beneath our nobility to even talk about a Cupid project having anything to do with us with empires coming together, because that's what we get.
What I took notice of also, it says no walk-ins permitted. Like it says, please do not visit any office of the city clerk unless you have scheduled an appointment. We have received a confirmation email. So it's like you have to put them on notice, as we've always done. But they've gone that far to state that. I'm just like, that's what caught my attention.
Yeah.
So.
Craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. Regarding the custodians still stocking the shelves and everything, like they haven't been dealing with money since the Banking Act. So they've been working voluntarily free, you know, for a long time. So bankruptcy, the way we think about it, that's not what it is because of the way they've been functioning thus far. So,
well, we never did say, okay, you all are bankrupt, we're the creditors, and we're liquidating. We just said that this year. And if we don't say it, they just keep going, because guess what? The heirs have to eat.
Yeah. And we're just now calling it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they knew this was coming because they kept saying stuff like China's going to call in all of their debt. China's going to call in. They've been saying that on the news, you know, quote unquote, the news for about 30 years. China's going to call in all of their debt and the U.S. will owe China everything. No, it's actually the Moors. We're right here.
First in time, first in line.
Been known that. They knew that. And they knew that we would wake up and say, okay, everyone, they're bankrupt. And guess what else we have to reform? We'll talk about that later because it's a huge, I'm still absorbing the information about what we have to reform in terms of that whole bankruptcy piece. So,
Islam, I got to say one more thing to what I just read earlier, because this is also a notice for the Moors not to go through that process of a marriage certificate. Because remember I had asked a question about the seal, New York, and how I was looking for one that didn't say of.
Yeah.
This is clearly a brand new website because it has the 1625 seal on it. The original seal that was created, the one that I have found. And it has the writing in Latin around the seal. And I'm like, what? Because they're paying attention to what we're saying. Yes, and so it has the original seal of Borough of Brooklyn. That's what it says. Borough of Manhattan, November 1st, 1683. And then it has 1609 Staten Island, City of New York. And so, and these are the all original seals.
Yeah. And so then reformation is in order where all of that is concerned. We got to reform all of that, everything that has to do with that.
as the sirens go off.
There they go again, Empress. You know, every time I'm on the phone with Moors, and this happens quite often, every time I'm on the phone with Moors, whenever we say something profound or we say something and the spirit is like, yep, that's true, you hear sirens in the background. The sirens come out of like nowhere. So even here when I'm in my study, if, you know, like especially when I'm upstairs in the bed and, you know, it's the middle of the night and I'm thinking and thoughts have come and I hear a certain thought, I'll hear sirens from way far away, you know, affirming that, yeah, that's, pay attention to that, you know. So, yeah, we got to reform everything because the earth was without form and void until we started forming everything and reforming. Because a corporate corpse dead form is not a form. That's not real. It's not real. You know, we have to do it. And the beauty of that, this is what I love about that, is we're doing it and then we get to just tell the system what it is that we want to do and what it is we want it to do, etc. So with that being said, congratulations, and hopefully those who are fasting, we have one more day. That's tomorrow. And then for those who will break your fast on tomorrow, some will fast longer than 3 days. And at some point, we as a nation will fast longer than 3 days.
How come that Range Rover is not in your driveway, Pauline? You commanded it. You commanded that Range Rover. We don't see it in your driveway, Pauline. Where's that Range Rover?
I'm so glad they can't speak directly to us. Because, see, the temptation would be to respond to stupid stuff. But I'm not going to do that.
Tell them about First Avenue, Pauline.
Going to continue doing what we're doing. That being said, yeah, congratulations to those who have been fasting. We have one more day, and at some point, as a nation, we will do fasts that are longer than 3 days. Right now, we're just introducing the 3-day fast, but at some point, we'll do 7-day fast and 10-day fast and 5-day fast. You know, just to kind of keep our bodies cleansed. And our ancestors did that even without the whole church scenario. They would, or the ones who didn't fast as much would take castor oil, and they would line all the children up and give them a spoonful of castor oil every day so that they were regularly cleansing. And so we're going to continue doing that. We did hear from our teacher this past Friday he said something about discipline and, you know, appreciating those who are doing the disciplinary actions, you know, that are necessary. You know, and fasting is a disciplinary action, you know, so that every thought that comes to our mind is under our control and dominion. Because that's another thing we're doing with fasting. Fasting makes it so that you know, sometimes when you're even in the grocery store or just sitting around, some thought will pop in your head, and you know good and well that is not going to help by eating whatever that is, or even doing it. It may even be unrelated to food. Doing things, you know, we're taking dominion over our thoughts and over the impulses and things like that, you know. And that's what fasting does also, is assist us in taking dominion over our thoughts. And it also makes it so that we're not reactionary, you know, that we're proactive with regard to everything that we do, you know. And then too, you know, we need to be really healthy to enjoy this vast estate, because it's huge. And we want to be healthy, and we want to be here in this to enjoy the fruits of our labor, and fasting helps with that. So, with that being said, you know, are there any other wisdom from this grand? Islam.
Islam. In reference to loved ones that have passed and claiming their estate, this is a question. Don't we have to nationalize them first?
Yes. By proxy, you want to do that.
Okay.
Nationalize them by proxy. So by proxy is just fiduciary, because a proxy is a fiduciary responsibility also. And put all of that on the public record, because guess what? For those who have questions about whether we can do that or not, everyone who's passed away, when we were in our sleep, the quote-unquote state kept on ministering or administering their estate, didn't they? They kept on doing things in probate and taking things and moving things and closing things and opening things, and they kept on. That means that we can keep on too. And that's retroactive. It's not pro-tunc. And then you want to notify fake probate courts and fake, insurance companies, fake, all of that. You want to notify them that you're actually the fiduciary for that estate. Because if you think about what we're really doing, we're stating that we're the fiduciary for the entire estate, nunc pro tunc. So we're actually fiduciaries now for our ancestors back then, which I think is just amazing. It's amazing that our ancestors trust us that much. And they do, So with that being said, any other wisdom from this great, grand, high court? I would like to, in conclusion of this particular meeting and assembly, I would like to speak some affirmations into our state and our nation and our government, and specifically this assembly. So, and I'm going to try not to cry when I do it. May you prosper. May you be well. May everything that your hands touch turn to gold immediately. May all that you desire and wish and want for you manifest now. May your heirs prosper into perpetuity. May everything that you saw for you manifest now. May our studies and our unity come together even more. May our nation and our vast empire grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow into perpetuity. May our ancestors be pleased, and they are, because we are our ancestors returned. I'm going to stop there before I turn into a complete and total puddle of water. With that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam. I wish the same to you.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising, Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam. Peace and love, nobility.